Hello, hello, my global family. This is Nziki Ngcoco on Power to Lead show. Thank you for joining us. And I am here with our special guest, Victor Masondo. As promised, this is a man who promised us an album of his own. So he delivered his promise. So I just want to greet everyone out there and the whole world and say Happy Women's Day to women out there. South Africa this month is dedicated to women to celebrate them for their greatness, goodness, and kindness, and the great things women have done for this country and in the globe. So now I am going to welcome our guests to come and greet you. Hello, hello. Wow, we have the legend himself, Bating Baba, Sibusiso Victor Masondo. I call him Black
Wow.
Guitar and Brother Prayer. Hello, please greet our viewers out there.
Hey, to all the viewers and to all the friends of a friend of ours, I would like to give you my greetings.
Thank you so much. Before we get to the next step, may I just humbly ask you to open this session in prayer. This is a premiere of the musical zone, musical corner for Power to Lead. And we have
Mm,
partners all over the world, and we believe in prayer. Thank you. Over to
okay,
you.
okay. Yeah, we're so grateful, Lord, for the opportunity that you give us to share our voices. And actually, these voices are from you, given by you for your own people. So, again, we ask for your influence so that whatever we do and say may do something for your own children, everyone whom you created who are listening right now. Thank you so much in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Baba Masondo. You know
Mm,
what? In our culture, when
mhm,
someone is going to, you're going to be a speaker somewhere, you don't go alone, right?
mm,
Or in places where sometimes, okay, let me make this example, a beautiful one, because I love the story of a marriage. When someone is getting married, there's
mm,
always, the bride's crew, the groom's crew,
mm,
what we call
mhm,
abakapi, you know.
mhm, mhm,
So
mhm,
in our
mhm.
show, we have umkapi, and all
Oh,
the way you have a special guest all the way from Chicago. Look who's here.
okay.
That's a surprise for you. Hi, hello, Vian. Please
Aha.
greet the viewers out there. You are muted. We can't hear you. He's muted. Hi, Vianney. We can't hear you. Check your microphone. Yeah, your microphone. I think he's muted. All right. All right. As he sorts that out, it's a real surprise. So we know
Wow.
that you have a new release, a single titled As Promised. What
Hmm.
did you
Hmm.
promise the people, really?
Let me tell you this story. I was walking one day in a mall, and a gentleman approached me. One of the
Mhm.
he was one elder. And he said, "Victor, everyone has done an album, but you have not done an album. So why are you
Mm.
depriving us of a good jazz album?" And I looked at that man. I said, "You know what? I'll sort that out. So I'll keep the promise." And so when I remember relating the story to my son Jonathan, and he said, "Well, then there's your title." I was like, "Oh, okay, sorted." That's the title of the album. So that's
Oh,
what happened.
wow.
Yeah. So I was keeping my promise, and that's it. I've done it.
So, in keeping this promise, even the title comes around the family. It just flows in the family, this musical thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. 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 So
Okay.
that's the beauty of it all. And it's such a great surprise to see Vianney here.
Yes, let's
Oh
see if
yeah.
he's okay now. Vianney, is your
Nah,
microphone okay now? Please greet us.
it's gonna happen, trust me.
It's gonna happen. We see the lips. I sent him a message. Don't worry. At least as long as we have him here, it's a wonderful thing. Let me just again introduce Sibusiso Victor Masondo is a global musical legend. He is the CEO of Masondo Music. Tell us about that. Isondo Music.
Yeah, that was back in 1993, when I was, I was getting ready to get involved in the music industry. I was with the legendary late now Ray Piri, and he was
Mm,
the one who was always advising in music industry related businesses. And he said, Victor, you need to start your own publishing company. And
okay.
I said, okay, first, how does it work? So he was explaining it, and then he said, you know what, I even have a name for you. Just call it Isondo Music. And I said, okay, well, you got it. And so, sure enough, Isondo Music is a company that I started for myself, for all my publishing, and for my other music business.
Oh, wow. So again, the name was just easily flowing because of, you know, the networks around you,
Mm, mm,
aligning
mm.
yourself with people of the same vision. Things flow, you know?
Yeah, it's always been great to actually be able to know that whatever you do, you did not make it there by yourself, because you surround yourself with people who know more than you, who know better than you, who are more intelligent than you. You surround yourself with people who actually have a bigger edge more than you, because that's what you need. You need the kind of people who will inspire you and push you forward.
Yeah.
So I've always sought, I mean, I sought even Ray himself. We met, it is in 1987 when we first met. And after that, I promised I will stay in touch with him, and I did. And when I was still in Durban at the Natal University, by the time I followed him all the way up when we were in Johannesburg, I pursued him again and I said, I just talk to me about the music industry business. How does
Mhm.
this work? And that's how the relationships grew, because I've always been the one to ask many questions, because, I need to learn from those who are in the industry, as opposed to just getting, a ready-made plan to say, just, I ask those who are already ahead, because I need to learn.
Oh, wow. So the learning curve doesn't end,
No.
education rolls over.
Oh, you stop learning, trust me, you start to die.
Wow. You know,
Yeah,
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 I hear you. You stop drinking water and then you die.
yeah. Well,
That one made me feel thirsty. So I must drink water and then I can continue. Wow. We have Vianney before we get to the next
Can can you
discussion.
can
Yeah,
you hear me?
yes, we can.
Oh
Oh,
yes, there we go.
hey,
My
please greet us
apologies.
from Chicago.
Well, first of all, greetings to both of you. I'm a big fan of both of yours. You guys are changing the world in your own individual ways, and you both are eminently gifted in what you do. And it's just an honor to be here with you today.
Hey,
Wow. Wow. You know this voice. The last time we physically met, it was in the Stasa conference. Which year was it?
It's got to be.
1985.
I was going to say it's got to be
1985.
at least 35 years ago.
Yeah, that was 1985. It was my first year as someone who is fully employed. So
Yes.
thank you
ah,
so much. We just talk on fingers, but we thank God for the technology. At least we can connect. And thank you for the honor, Vianney, for being with us. You
yeah.
really, you made my day when you also honored to be a surprise guest. Thank you.
I could not stay aside because I was very interested in the conversation you're about to have, with one of my musical heroes. So, like I say, the honor is mine.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh.
Brother Gita, take
Mm,
us through this. Wherever we see you in pictures, it's you and the guitar. There's big guitars, they all have the names you'll tell us about. All I know,
mm.
you are an acclaimed musician, a songwriter, a producer in South Africa, who sometimes you disappear for 3 months and go to Japan. Tell us what's this music in you and spreading it to the world. Where did it all start?
Well, before that, I just need to chip in here very quickly and just quickly
Okay,
talk about this brother of mine, Vuyani. You know,
wonderful.
he's one person that I feel like I've known him for forever. We've just connected, and it feels like I've known him for a very long time, because those are the kind of connections that you'll have with people who come into your life, and as an asset, not a liability. And so I'm just so glad to see you here. There's a friendship here that's growing. I do not know where it's headed, but it makes me feel very comfortable. So
Thank you.
that's my brother Vianney right here. Thank you so much, man, for your time. They say you can give somebody a lot of money, or but if you give them time, you're giving them something that's irreplaceable. So thank you. You know, and yeah, my journey with guitars. Wow, it started with first my dad, who was a guitarist himself and actually a pastor. And it was a bad thing to do, to play guitar in church those days, because they even used to call the guitar isn't bambos ga Satan. I used to wonder, gee, what do the devil's ribs look like? So and so it started off like that, and then I was so attached to this instrument I just couldn't put it down. And then I remember there was a friend of ours. Oh wait, there was another spiritual father when my dad passed away in 1983. The spiritual father, Bamzimela, who used to be a pastor of Wamashu Christian Center. And he's the one who actually introduced me to a few people. One of them was Danny Smith. Danny and Dana Smith, they were a couple, and who spoke over my life and said, you know what, God will give you so much equipment to empower you with what you need to do. But this equipment is not going to be just normal. It's the kind of equipment that when people ask, how did you get all of this? You are able to say, the Lord gave me. So yeah, and I've collected quite a few instruments as I go. I'm not sure I can outnumber the instruments that Vianney has. But it's great. It's wonderful, because he knows the deal. We see an instrument, we know what it is needed for. We have to have it in the house. So it's good to even create your own room, so that's the room that speaks to you when you walk in. So yes, and there's been one of the special ones was, of course, my the instrument that was made for me by Yamaha, where they made a fretless bass for me, which was my own signature bass as such. So yeah, the Lord has blessed me with a lot of equipment, but it's not just collection. All of them have got a story because of what they mean and where they came from and what they represent. So that's the long and short with all the instruments, if I can say that.
Wow.
If I can just weigh in,
Mhm.
just to give you an understanding of the he has an instrument that was built by Yamaha. Yamaha does not build instruments for everybody. It's a very, very select few musicians who have that honor of working with Yamaha at that level. Here in the United States, I can count bass players probably on my left hand that have a relationship of that level with Yamaha. So it goes to show you that the level of ability, talent, and and God's blessings that my brother has is such that even as far as Japan, he's recognized for his ability, his amazing ability. So I thought I'd just add that just to let you know that it's a very it's not a common thing to have what he has with that signature from Yamaha.
Wow, that's a spirit of brotherhood. They always say it's not easy to blow your own horn. And look at that explanation you're giving us, Vianney, so that we understand the level. And again, very grateful for your time to come and be with us and to share, for both of you to share the journey of music. Because what people always see and know is like musicians, they just, lax people, no background, they just take instruments or have a gift to play and they end there. So take us through the journey of really studying music. Is it something that is easily understandable to just go to a university and study music when others say, go and be a lawyer, a doctor, all those academics?
Well, let me tell you this. My story was when after my dad had passed on in 1983. My mom said, "So you need to choose a career path. What are you gonna do?" And of course, I said, "Well, music is all I want to do." Mom was like, "I know you do well there, but how can we, I do not even know how we can find any money for you to go to university for something of that nature." So I said, "Don't worry. The gift will look after itself." And sure enough, there was a close family friend also who was part of the church, the Assemblies of God church. I must say that's where we grew up in, and Pastor Donda, Bab Donda, who stood up, said, "We sponsor, we give money here for scholarships, for students to go and study, everything that they want to study." He said, "I'm going to stand up for this young man because he doesn't have just any other gift. He has a calling. We need to fund the calling." And a lot of people looked at him more like, at the church, like, how is that going to work? And he said, "Sure enough, we need to." And then comes in a great legend of guitar in South Africa, Mr. Sandile Shange, who said, "I want to introduce you to someone who's going to help you make the next step and get to the level where you can go and study music and be better equipped, with your gift." And so he said, "I know there's a man who's just come from the US. His name is Darius Brubeck." I said, "Of course, Brubeck, the name." He said, "Yeah, that's the son of Dave Brubeck. He's doing jazz and you need to come and meet him." So I went to Natal University for an interview. I will remember it was in 1980. It was 1985, and actually 84, where I went over for an interview. It was about just at the end of June, and went for an interview. And the man, and he said to me, "Okay, great, we like what you're hearing from you, but you need to be equipped with what university needs. The university needs you to be at grade 5 on music theory." I could not spell what the theory is. I could not spell the T of music theory. And then in came a man called Mark Doobie. Mark Doobie is a great bass player and a great educator here in South Africa. And he said, "Victor, I'm booking you a grade 5 exam as we start on grade 1." And I was like, "Wow, okay. That's going to be interesting," because now, we're looking at about July, August, and sure enough, he booked an exam for 3 months, and he pulled me through from grade 1, wouldn't let me go. Every excuse I was trying to give, he wouldn't let me go. And he took me from grade 1 to grade 5, booked me an exam. I passed that exam, which was quite a big miracle. So, and then I was ready for university. Then in 1985, I started, and I was trying to say maybe I need another year. He said, "No, no, 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 no. You're ready now." and he took me through that. And so I went in there. I was the first student for jazz at Natal University. So I was sitting as the one man of my color. And then I was joined by an Indian man, friend of mine, who was a pianist, who was studying classical. When he heard about jazz, he moved over to jazz. And Melvin Peters was his name. And there was also another friend now, and Mr. Nick Payton, who's son of Alan, a grandson of Alan Payton, who was playing saxophone, who was part of that, who became quite a close friend. So then the jazz program was started on me. And so that is the one where then on the second year we saw some great people coming in: Zim Ngawana, the late, and Johnny Mekwa, the late, Lulu Gonzana, the late, and some of the great guys that came in on the second year. I was so glad to have company. So yeah, that's my journey to Natal University, long and short. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was quite a serious journey, because it was hard. Yeah, actually, especially my first year, because I was still living at home in the township. I would commute daily, and there are times where I used to miss the bus, the last bus of the evening. So when a few times I used to just call my family, somebody come get me at some stage. Then I got tired of doing that. So one day when I missed the bus, I went back to the practice room and I locked myself in the practice room, because now I have access to an instrument and I can continue studying. So I just went, studied, practiced. There are times where I would get so frustrated, I'll practice until I start crying through the night, but just, I would lock myself and not tell anybody. The security used to come over and say, they never used to go in the practice room. They used to stand outside and say, is there anybody here? Because I'm about to lock. I'll be quiet with the light off, and he turns he hits the switch, and I know he's gonna go all the way back to the gate. As soon as I hear him walk up, I go turn the switch up, and me and my music we study. So that was
Wow.
my first year, and
Oh,
the
wow.
church paid for all 3 years. So now I was under pressure that I cannot fail.
And the church paid for you.
3 years at that time, it was 9,000 rand for 3 years.
Wow. Isn't this a
It's a
wonderful
lot of money,
you?
3,000 per year. So, but
Yeah.
one man, Pastor Tonda, said this man has to be taken care of, and so that's the long and short.
Oh, wow. And now, why do you both of you love the bass guitar? Is it a bass guitar or bass guitar? Please teach us the right way of calling it.
It's yours, brother Viana. Take this one.
Oh, I was about to let you're the senior musician here, so we call it the bass guitar, and for me, I my ear always gravitated to the bass, even when I was a child and
Mm,
didn't even know what a bass was. Every time I
mm,
would hear songs, I would hear the bass parts, and I could remember those, and I couldn't remember lyrics to this day. I still
mm,
struggle, remembering lyric. My wife, who's not a musician, for example, knows lyrics to everything. I know lyrics to
mm,
nothing, but bass lines, I can always lock onto those. So for me, once I put together the sound of the bass and the instrument, it
mm,
was a natural thing that I gravitated to. And to this day, anytime I hear music in my head, I hear it in the voice of the bass.
mm, mm. Wow. It, the interesting thing part with me is that first I was on guitar until my brother was a bass player. He was supposed to go up and play, and at that time there was something that it was not. He was not ready to get up on the stage, and it was a moment of moments that I've been waiting for, because a small delay in him not getting up to the stage, boy, I was there. And I was so young, so I didn't give the band a chance, because the band was made up of my brother as well, who used to say, don't touch those instruments. I was too young. So don't touch the bass. Don't touch the bass. You're gonna mess up with the strings. So the band was on stage and the bass player was delayed. I jumped up like a bullet and I didn't give them a chance. And I knew the songs already. I started playing the songs and they had no chance but to join. So I started the song that started with bass, with the bass line. And that was not even time for that song, but they had to play it now because I was already playing it. And from then on, couldn't put the bass down. That was actually the moment before my dad passed. My dad was there. And when I played the bass, I looked at him. I said, Dad, what did you think? He looked at me, our KwaZulu Natal fathers, you'll never get them high-fiving you or something like. He just looked at me and said, and he just said, and he didn't say anything. And I knew what he was saying because his uncle was playing jazz. He was a jazz guitarist. Everybody. So I knew what a yes was, and so that was my key. I was very excited that he didn't say, I don't want you to touch that instrument.
Oh wow! So it's all in the family.
Yeah, the whole family is just musical.
And how in the family you are number who?
Well,
There
I'm
are
number
numbers.
5 actually, because there were 6 of us. So it was 2 girls and then 4 boys. So the boys are still here, but the girls have all gone to sleep. And
Oh wow!
so yeah, and yeah, that was, so I was the last but one, so, and I was always the one to be told, you're still young, just take it easy. Well, I didn't know how
And
to
you
spell
just
take it easy.
hey, the music it just moves, I see, even when I looked at some of your pictures, you see the one that the spotlights on my background. That
Mm,
what happens when you play? You just go away. You're in your own space. We say here, you're far, you are in China, yet you're in South Africa. What happens when you play?
that's
Well,
yours, Mr. Biel. Before I can speak for you, I've seen you.
well, I'll say this: I'm my father's son. My father is a person who is a deep thinker, and I am cursed with that. And it's been a lifelong journey to learn to step aside and
Mm,
let the music from above come through me instead of me
mhm,
try to create it. And so I
mhm,
find that
mhm,
for me, when I can step aside and let the music come through me, I play better. I have better
mhm,
ideas. And whereas if I'm thinking, the music doesn't feel as good.
mhm.
And so for me, it's been a big challenge just to like I say, to just step aside and just be a conduit.
Mhm, mhm, mm. Wow.
And to
Listen,
you, Baba Masondo.
I understand that so well. It's been one of the things that I've been learning and that I've learned over the last couple of years, that I'm not in charge, the music is. And because there's so many times where I would listen back to something that I've done and I'm thinking, when did I do this? Was it really me who played here? Because and I'm saying that so sincerely, because there are so many times where I had to think, wow, what was I thinking here? Because there are so many times when you're not thinking. A great man who's a great mentor, I mention him all the time, and one of the greatest musicians, is conducted the Oscars, he's done all the biggest works, Mr. Harold Wheeler. He said something to me that changed my way of thinking. He said, the gift in you will not allow you at any given moment for it to come up with anything less than good to excellent. And he said, because at the moment when you're at your weakest, that's when you allow the music to take over. So that's why you hear things that you think, wow, did I do this? Because that worked. And only to find out that that was at your lowest moment where the gift of music takes over. So being the conduit, is the most important thing, to understand that you are the vessel. It comes, as you're saying, my brother, it comes from up there, flows through you, and you must give it to as you get it. So that's why I always emphasize, even to some of my musician friends right now, I said, if you do not honor that note you're about to give out, then you need to rethink what you're about to do, because as it goes out, it's not coming back, it's out. And the spirit in which you're giving it is so important, because you've seen people sometimes when they listen to music and they get annoyed and like something is not working well. If as I was recording, I was doing something, I was not in the right space, that's captured, and that's what keeps getting sent to people. So which is so important, to honor the gift and understand your role in the gift. And that's just, I'm just adding, because we're in the one frame of mind here of understanding what it is that we're dealing with when you say music. It's a big
Yep.
gift. It's a big one.
It,
It's really is big.
it's a gift.
Yeah.
It's something we are born with.
Yeah. Yeah, I can say that. I mean, it's something you're born with. Yet there are some people who were not born with it. But to give, for that's an example of a man called Andre Crouch. Andre Crouch was not born with music, and his dad laid hands on him and he said, "Lord, I pray that this boy will have the gift of music and songs that will come out of him." He laid hands on him and he imparted that gift. And after that, Andre just, well, we know now. You cannot say gospel music and not speak Andre Crouch. You know, in his sleep, he has given us so much music, because God used him. So that gift was given to him, by the laying on of hands. Yeah.
I remember even that beautiful song, Let the Church Say Amen.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very
What a
powerful.
wonderful.
Very
Very,
powerful.
very, very, very powerful. What does
Mm,
this do to us as, as the people, family, society, country? Because sometimes we may not speak the same language. Now, I'm bringing this to, if you remember the story in South Africa, when the women, more than 20,000 women, gathered in union buildings. And at the moment where they were handing over the petition, there was a moment of silence. They were
mm,
commanded by their leaders to be silent, and then a song. Obviously, they were not, speaking the same language, but when we sing, we can be
mhm.
united. What does it do to you as you are? Sometimes I see when you conduct the choir or the people, what does that do to you and the audience?
Wow. You know, understanding first that first the word, and then after the word, for the word to get through, God created transport for the word and he called it music. Because if you listen very carefully, we are not the only ones who sing. The birds, the wind, the water, everything in nature sings. And it's only when, I remember when I heard this example of crickets. I used to hear crickets, and sometimes they'd be so loud and they're annoying. And then somebody actually put it in the right frequency, and then I heard that that one cricket was not singing for itself. It was connecting with other crickets, because in the night you hear all these crickets sing, and then they lowered the sound just to put it in where we should be hearing, and it was a choir that was so beautiful. And I was like, wow. So that's something so important, when we understand actually that God made music as a transport for his word. Because I can tell you right now, I can tell you to get out of here, I don't want to see you. You'll be angry. But if I sing to you and say, hit the road, Jack, and don't come back no more, you'll be singing so nicely as you go. There's something about the power of how music either smooths or, I mean, when I heard even how slaves were freed in the U.S., there are so many pieces of music, where the man who was singing, he was giving them the direction on how to get onto the road to freedom, and so, get your kicks on Route 66, and he was busy singing the route, go down the Mississippi, Oklahoma, and he was giving the route. And people who were there, they were not aware that their slaves were going one by one. Slave masters were just humming and tapping. They didn't know their slaves were leaving to find freedom. So, I mean, I'm just saying that, the gift of music is up to be used or abused as well, because that's why we can see people who can actually use that, and people kill them each other after hearing something music related because of the power of music. It's one of the most powerful sources of creation that the Lord made.
For me, music, there's two sides of a coin. It's beautiful, it's powerful, but it also requires a responsibility.
Mm,
You have to take it seriously because of it. The way it impacts other people is so powerful that you have to be responsible with it. I'll give you an
mm,
example. As a bass player, if I'm playing something that grooves, it's something that's going to make people want to move. Uh,
mhm,
I remember I was playing at a church, and I was a new bass player, and I knew that there'd be days where if I didn't play very well, there was one old lady who'd come up and pull me aside and tell me that, I'm praying for you. And that was her way of telling me that, hey, you're struggling. And then days that she wouldn't, then I would know that somehow, my whatever I did on the instrument connected with her in a way that,
mm,
or, so there's a great deal of responsibility. You speak about the music of of the slaves here. I'm thinking about the music of the freedom movement in South Africa and the
mhm,
of those songs when the protesters was saying on the streets.
mhm, mhm,
Uh, it would transport people to feeling so much more about what they're trying to do in the moment. And without that music, it's just a bunch of people walking together.
mhm, mhm, mhm. So much that even some of the police who were there during those days, they said, we didn't mind it when people were doing, all that. He said, but when they started to sing, it got us to panic. He
Yeah.
said, we panicked. That's the one thing didn't want people to do. When they started singing, it threw panic within our camps. And that was like, whoa. Of course, there's so many times where we even reading, even when you read our Bibles and find out that wars were won by musicians. It's like there's a war coming, bring out the musicians to sing in front of that. But sure enough, the power of music. I mean, when I really heard these stories from the apartheid police who said we hated it when those guys started singing. So we didn't mind anything else, but singing got to us. That was the power of it.
Wow.
That's the power.
Wow. Now, you remember in the Bible, because we both love, all of us, we love that book here in this platform, and I know other people out there. When we talk about a depressed king, King Saul, when he was depressed, there was a spirit that would attack him with depression, and then it was required of him to be played a song, then that would chase that spirit away.
Mhm,
So music is a
mhm.
healer. Take us through the journey of how you healed people through music.
Wow. It's one of the things that I've heard when I was announcing the album. I heard that somebody wrote me and said, Victor, let the healing begin. The nation is looking for healing. And I was like, oh, because that was one of the angles that I was thinking about, that made the music be a balm, made heal some other people. And because there's the spirit in which the music was recorded, it was about that deliverance, healing, and that one thing that will make you feel like something is happening to you. And for those who were depressed, I was just praying that may this music touch and all of them, and have that impact in their lives. So music as a healer is one of those most powerful things, because actually there's even music therapy that I've when I was at Berkeley University, and then I was taken to another university nearby, where they were using music to heal. Literally, there are some children who are going through a lot of things, and they played the music. It was healing. So the power of music to heal is there, you know. And so there's a lot to it. It's just that it needs a whole lot of time to break down. How does music therapy go? How all those things apply, So, but in its own way, the gift of music. I've seen a lot. I've seen, before it became a thing to cause, a whole lot of things. I've seen music being played and people just getting up like, whoa, wait a minute, that pain that I had here, I can't feel it anymore, through music. And there was nobody running up to them and pushing them and doing all kinds of things. And I'm not saying that, that's wrong. That's up to how people do what they do. But in the music, the healing begins, because the power of music is just beyond what we know. I'm learning more about how much more is in music, and it's really taking me, it's shocking me almost, for lack of a better word.
Mm. Wow, that's awesome. I see you, Vianney, the way you are nodding your head, you have an experience as well.
For me, I look at music as probably one of the most direct ways that you can connect to someone's soul. You know,
Hmm.
you can take music with no words, and you can touch a person, and they can be transported to a feeling, to a mindset, a memory, um, that that even the person who wrote the music was not even aware that that person,
Mm,
to me, I see it really as one of the God-given gifts that was left for us here on earth,
mhm,
because as it can heal, it can also elevate. Um,
mhm,
you
mhm,
look in a church environment, you can take a message, and if you support it with music, it elevates that same message. You
mhm,
know,
mhm.
you can take music and you can gather people together with it, or you can divide people with it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and and whether it has words or doesn't have words, it has the same amount of power.
Mhm, mhm,
So for
mhm.
me, that's what I've seen. I'll use my wife as an example. For her, she's able to hear something, and immediately she can tell you, I was 13 when I heard this, I was doing such
Yeah.
and such," and it immediately transports her, places, just based on what she's hearing. um,
Mhm,
um, for me, I'm naturally an introvert, but I work to be an extrovert, and what it does is it allows me to express myself without being completely explicit about what it is I feel. For me, I
mhm,
put out my feelings, and it's not important that my feelings be understood as much as it's just important for me to put out my feelings. And
mhm,
and if people can get something positive out of that, then I feel grateful. But beyond that, I think more than anything, I feel most grateful for having found music, because what it has done is it has brought a certain balance to my life, and has given me a, a brother and sisterhood all over the world of people that I never would have met without it.
mhm, mhm.
Wow. Why don't we just give musicians like you, my legends, a title of a spiritual doctors? Because
That is,
Mhm.
but that is the name. That musician, you have physician.
Yes.
That is what
And
we are. This we're the healers of the soul. A musician, you know. So that's what it is, and that's that's one things we discuss actually in the pianist on my album, Mark Franzman. That's what he was talking about. Said, Vic, I do not understand why people do not see themselves the way we are the musicians, because we're the healers of. So that's just been one of the things I've been saying.
yeah.
That is true. It's
Mm.
that important. It's only how society has made music to feel like what it is, but they do not understand the power of what is in it, because it is definitely a big gift. Let me give you another story, because I think this is one of the things you wanted us to talk about as well. The power of music in and a story about women. One of my most powerful stories, which was back in my old village, where I come from, in the deep rural, in Nambiti. And there were women. There was a black mamba black mamba can be a problem, especially when it's stuck on a tree. And there's a mentality of a snake, of a black mamba, when it feels trapped. But we do not have time for that. But long and short, it was trapped in the wrong place. Cattle come by, mamba bites. People come by, mamba bites. And it was becoming a big issue. So of course, the chief of the village sends a mabuto, the strong guys, to go and deal with this. And of course, the mamba, you cannot go there as a strong guy. You need to be, because I think it's faster than. So the guys couldn't contend with it, and the snake was. And then after that, there came the women. Can we help? And the chief was like, no, we're not going to rescue. No, 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 you cannot go. And so they persist, very much like, okay, we've got a plan. We want to help. And up to the when the chief said, okay, 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 the power of persuasion is what the women have. So finally, the chief said, okay, but we need to tail you. We need to make sure that the Amabutu are right behind you. And the women said, we don't need them. Can they please stay at home? And so the women got something together called, we've got different types of pumpkin. This one is called isjingi, which is the hottest one. Whenever even grandmama would make it, she'd make it and put it out in the night to cool down, so that you can have it in the morning. It was still hot even in the morning, but a little bit cooler. So they would cook it at its hottest. They would put it on their heads, and they put what you call ingata, and put the hot stingy on top, and they went straight to where the snake is, and they were singing to the snake, saying, we've come to close this deal. Because, and so they were motivating themselves to, so that they do not have fear themselves. They went straight to where the snake is, and of course the snake, being up on the tree, it was striking the head. As it went down, it went into the hot porridge, and the first hot porridge is that it was just striking the head. It was striking the hot porridge number one, hot porridge number two, and the of course, now the eyes are burst and so they were the women carrying little sticks, just beating that thing. And then they brought the snake back and said, we've solved the problem. The power of first, how they did that. I mean, it's just one of the many stories of the reason why, I've got a high honor and respect for our mothers, our women, our friends, our sisters, our everyone right now. Just say God has given women a special part, and I'm trying to be very careful in a way that I do not separate. Sometimes the thing that I do not like the most is like when you talk about women, like you're talking about a different species. We're talking about the same um humans who need human rights. So I was just saying that the power of women, I'm a product of a most patient, loving, hugging woman who's given me a lot of music. The first jingle, when I sang a jingle, I remember that my mother wrote a jingle a long time ago when I was still young for radio, for a tea. It was done by my mother. So, I just wanted to be able to say that in this Women's Month, we want to be able to say that we come from you as women, and we honor you more than you would know it. And we know you've been given a little bit more brains than we have, and we admit that. Not gonna, but just to be able to say,
Malibongwe.
we know why the devil attacks you the most. It's because if you are, of course, if you are very important, you get on a hit list. So the devil is after those whom he knows are powerful enough to hit him on the head, like the black mamba.
Absolutely. I would add to that you look at any society, anytime women move forward in a society, the entire society moves forward. Um,
Hmm.
for me, I I was blessed to grow up in a household where I had a mother that was um, she had five sons and had no daughters, and but yet she gave us enough of herself that we all have grown up appreciating the challenges that she faced as a woman, and also supporting um, women's rights and issues because of her of what she imbued in us and put into us. As a result, um, for me, to not support women's issues and uh, it just does not make any sense, because again,
Hmm.
as my brother is saying, we come from women, we had mothers, some of us have sisters and wives and daughters, and um, so to me, again, I think that uh, anytime that women move forward, they bring all of us as a society forward with
Hmm.
them.
Wow, thank you so much. I want to take this one and say thank you on behalf of Amakosigas, Mama, the queens and the princesses. Thank you so much for honoring us and also in this month. So we really salute women all over the globe. Thank you so much. When men speak, we listen. And when we speak from the heart and honor women, we really we honor that, and we are so blessed because you are the authorities. The mandate of leadership, it relies on you. So we thank you so much for that. And that takes us to the good news now from Brother Gita. This new single thing, what is this about this as promised? And what are the songs that you want the world to get and the message out there?
You know, um, there are so many messages in this song. I remember even one of the tunes. I know this is one of your favorites, Ingozi. Ingozi was actually, it was written by Mark Franzman. And he played it for me in the studio as we were recording. He said, "Look, I've got this song, man, and I'll listen to Ingozi. Oh wow, what are we in danger of? You know?" And this was so important in being able to talk about that. We are in danger of losing the most important things that we have, that we need. We're in danger of losing our culture. We're in danger of losing our identity. We're in danger of losing the spirit of who we are as Ubuntu Abantu. As such, we are in danger of losing out, because these days I was actually even emphasizing that COVID came, and yes, COVID came and destroyed a lot of things, but COVID also came to expose families to each other. Now parents got to find out who their children are, because the children, when they go to school, you're finding out that they're getting more influences by whom they spend more time with. So when you're looking at women, men who are men and women who are not spending enough time with their children, because we're busy chasing a life that we're not getting enough of, and when you're chasing um a life, a lifestyle, and all those things, you spend so much time, you spend so much money. So in other words, you're on a laptop, even at breakfast, you're jumping into your car, and you're just hurrying the children up. And even when they want to talk to you, "Mommy, I've got a problem with this." "Okay, we'll deal about that later." "Okay, now just talk to the principal." And we're not getting enough time to invest. So Ingozi is a warning sign for each and everyone to say we are in danger of losing what we need. the most. That is our true identity, and it's time we get back to it and really make the best out of what can we do as a unit. Because when we are not united in culture, we're going to suffer the consequences of what is going on right now, because other cultures are taking over our culture. But yet, we've got one of the richest cultures that we can teach the rest of the world. And we've got something that we are not sharing, because now we are becoming that, which is what people are trying to get to study. We've lost the things that are so important. Sitting around the table as family, these days you'll never see a family that can sit and there's no cell phone. So I have to ask, who are you with? Are you with me, or are you with the person on the phone? There's somebody who's disturbing right there. So the ability to say at dinner time, no phones, no nothing. When children come home, children at about 7 o'clock, yeah, you surrender everything, iPad, you name it, it goes into one room. They may protest, but one day they'll know you are doing them the biggest favor to say it's time for us to be human. So
Wow.
Ingozi is a big warning for so many reasons. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
You're speaking the truth. Again, bringing it back to the music, I living in the United States, all of the African musicians that are successful that I know are only successful
Mm,
because um, they use their culture in their music.
mm, mm,
The ones who
mm,
don't use their culture in their music, they disappear. They get
mm,
lost in the mix because they don't have the uniqueness. They don't have the original perspective. Uh, Protecting culture is so important. Is so important.
mm.
Both in the home as well as artistically and in society. We need to have our uniqueness. It's important.
Mm, mm,
Wow.
mm. Yeah, that's
What
true.
what
That's
you
truth
know
right there.
this the basic
Mhm,
basic education. When we always say let's go back to basics. This is the
mhm.
very thing that we need to understand, and also to respect music. I think that's
Yeah.
that's that's a lesson on its own. That as musicians are disciplined people, the
Mm,
culture that is out there, that musicians, I'll put it as is, right? Forgive me. Musicians are drunkards and womanizers. It's not there. It's
No.
not the
mm,
right thing. So
mm,
people like you, as legends, as disciplined, as men who lead their families and in the church and in communities, we need to bring back this dignity to music, especially African music, that we sing it for healing, for advancing, for developing. And this is not just singing, this is entrepreneurship, this is
mm.
innovation. So our youth need that kind of skills development.
That's why it's called back to basics. There's base there, you know.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that's base. Oh, you see, that's base. That's base. So let's go back to basics.
Yes.
Let's really do this
Mm,
thing of empowerment, inspiring, educating, motivating, innovating, so that we can really influence the right way. We are
Yes.
powered to lead with integrity, the foundation of this platform, and that's what we do. We want our youth to lead with integrity, leaders to lead with integrity, so that we can really advance and live with the right rights as the people. Let me get to this one because our time is almost up. I don't want to hold you back more than I have requested your time. You are both PKs, meaning you are pastors' kids.
Sure.
And the PKs in the music industry, these PKs are even playing guitars. We call it is ging in our language. So abantu bezigingci nje, ngamajita. And now you are PKs who are playing guitars. And it's something that you broke out of the box and the norm of the church. How would you help other children who are still bound in the box of being scared to be who they were created to be?
I will say this: my thing when it comes to PKs, being a pastor's kid is I almost I do not know how to emphasize this. I speak to people to say, please stop putting us in a box of being our fathers. We're not our fathers, we are father's children.
Yes.
And number two, we are needing your prayers more than anything else. You must know, being a PK, the stakes are raised, man. You know, and as I was saying one day to some of the other people, just expressing that, when you're a PK, you just invited hyenas, that run in the whole clan, because they know that, wait, the main lion is out, so now they come in because they know it's time to invade. So, I'm just saying, it's a long story. I mean, that one I do not know where to start. But for PKs, it's more than us. It's more for people to understand that we have a calling, and there's a calling that's so important for the people to support the ministry by praying for us and not make us our fathers, but understand who we are. So, some of us who are in music, we just need your prayers. That's all. You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
I
because
would
the stakes are high.
I would second that. The external pressure that comes from society when you're a pastor's son is immense. And in my past, I've had moments of rebelling against that pressure, and but my removing myself particularly from that society early on allowed me to find myself and be the person I am. My father, he's not musical at all. He sings in church, and that's it. And my mother was more musical than my father. But for me, I found that um, the music, if it honors what is moral and right and good with God, I'm okay with it. And that's really the criteria that makes me decide what's right for me and what's not right for me.
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't allow society to tell me what's right, because I have the training, from
Mm,
being
mm,
raised in a Christian home. I know what's right. So based on that, it's easy to know what to do and what not to do. Now for the young musicians coming up who are struggling with that, um, I think that if they go back to the values of the Bible that they've grown up learning, uh,
mhm,
that will guide them in knowing what's right and what's not right. Let's remember, if you listen to classical music, there the tendency to think that classical music is, it's spiritual music. It's
ooh,
is music that is worthy of being in church, but you don't know what the
mm,
composer was thinking when he was writing that music.
ooh,
you
mm,
know
mm,
so to just make that assumption, it's not fair, it's not right. So we
mm,
need to be a little bit more open-minded and understand that God gives us different voices and different sounds with which to praise him.
mhm, mhm. That is so true, because a lot of people sometimes, and I've heard those arguments come up saying, we should always play classical, we should always stick to the, and I looked at them, I said, I started that music. I started the music. I know the demons that run in there too.
Yes.
I had to even ask people, why is it that when somebody's about to kill somebody, nobody plays rock and roll or jazz? It's classical. Tsa, tsa, tsa. Why is that? So I said, so we need to stop putting music in boxes and saying this is acceptable and unacceptable just because of somebody else's opinion. That's so important to understand that all music was given by God for a purpose and can be used or abused. All music. So even right now, there are people abusing the very gospel music that you hear. There are people abusing it. So
Absolutely.
this is the crisis that we're in right now. That we need to understand that not all, you know, yeah, all music has been breathed by God, and everything that God made, people abuse it or use it, whichever way they want to, and that's so important to understand, because I've had those debates for so many times when people are even saying, "Oh man, you're doing a jazz album. What does jazz mean?" I'm like, I don't know. What does it mean to you? But it's so important to not compartmentalize music and then put our own labels on it. It just depends on the one behind it.
So you are not rebels, you are liberals.
We're spiritual.
Thank you. That's
Thank
a
you.
more accurate.
Y-
That's more accurate.
Yeah,
it
we're
was a
spiritual.
question. It was a question
Mm,
that always come up, and like PKs are rebellious. I'm one of them, and I've had pain through. If you are yourself, you are spiritual, and then other people don't understand your gift, and then you are given as another jacket that doesn't belong to you. So
mhm,
other people didn't have the energy or the capability to say, no, that's not me. I'm not
mhm,
receiving that. But they were broken and left, not leave the church, but leave people who had them, who were in the
mhm.
church community. So, what do you say to that? As we, wow, it feels like this is just when we're starting this masterclass, and now the time is is over. We really need to come back again. This is a real lesson of back to basics with free gifts that were given, that some of us would not even go to doctors, physicians for healing. All we needed was just music.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You know, yeah.
mhm,
Mhm.
yeah.
Over to you.
Well, in closing, because as I say, I really have to go. I had a
Yes,
9 o'clock call.
yes.
But really, I just want to say that I appreciate this time. And my
Thank
brother
you.
Vianney, thank you so
Yeah.
much. I'm looking forward to a time where I'm gonna plan to take a break, and I'm just gonna come to your house just to sit down and do nothing.
My guest room right above me is yours anytime you want it.
I'm coming, bro.
Come on.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
to
I
you.
really appreciate both of you. I don't want to take much more of your time. All we can do is just to ask you, Uncle Vic, to just pray for us as we close. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Okay.
All right. Uh, Lord, we do thank you that you've given us the ability and the time. Uh, and in everything that we say, we seek to make you known. We seek to be the ones who are going to be empowered by your word so that you can empower others. Bless us to be a blessing. We need you so much each and every day. Show us your ways that we may walk in them. And thank you for blessing us with more life, days, times that you were, whatever you've given to us. We just want to make the best out of what you've given us. So thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much. All I'm going to ask for you to do for us, Babu Masondo, give us the link where people can get your music and where they can buy this beautiful song as promised in Ngozi, so that we can spread this good news of the song. So what we're going to do, I'll
Mm.
put it on the link because all these links were live. So we put it there as people view this broadcast, they will see the link where they can get the song. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Well, it's available across the all the usual platforms: Apple, Spotify. You name them, all of them. It's already available. The single, and we're just about to load the full album as well. We want to load and launch properly in September, springtime there. So we want to do it that way.
I,
Oh,
ju-
thank
I
you
just like
so much.
I just like to add that I've heard just a taste, and believe me, it's worth getting. it is worth getting.
Wow, thank you so much. And thanks to you, Vianney. Thank you to our sponsor, Amen, Amplified Moms Empowerment Network from the US in California. Thank you so much. To our viewers out there, thank you. Bye-bye.